Chill here with Sirius, Taurus, Moon, Jupiter, our moon day. That is basically Venus night. And the moon is 4 degrees Taurus, ruled by Venus. That's at 6 degrees Capricorn. Mars is 11 degrees Capricorn. Jupiter is 21 degrees Cancer. Ascendant not ruled by, conjoining Ketu. Ruled by Mercury, 25 degrees Sag. In the 4th house, squaring Saturn. This is an energy reading. Midheaven on Aldebaran. And for those that work with Archangel Michael, we can call on Archangel Michael to combat ritual abuse in any name. Combat occultistic abuse. And the energy reading that I'm receiving is somebody is trying to, and it has been for several days, trying to siphon energy from the root chakra or the foundation. I'm sorry, the anal chakra. Is basically some of you maybe experience, spiritual rape, particularly of the root chakra, which is anal chakra. Now, for those of you that are going through these atrocities, my energy reading for you is such. Your root energy, your ancestry, your lineage, your foundations, your subconscious, a shadow work, everything's been lining up to seal the root chakra for any type of attempts to basically siphon from the collective's foundation. Some of you may be addressing residues of ritual abuse, its connection to the foundation, survivalistic needs. So that would be the natural resources and real estate your, let's say, house resides on. And there has been a collective since at least 2019. There's been a collective attempt to siphon energy from the root chakra of people, alongside with collective calling for people to connect with their root chakra. So many people have been disconnected. Many they believe they couldn't ever buy a house, or disconnected from the lineage, or from their roots, or grounding. And these two processes have been happening simultaneously. Why? Because the desire for people to connect to their roots, first of all, people would need to go through that up jump. And whenever the collective is going through an up jump, there are attempts to siphon this energy. Okay, think about the Nile. The Nile is a source of water. So along the Nile, there would be high competition to reside, to trade, to be by that source of water. Each and every individual life energy, sexual energy, life energy, erotic and life energy, non-erotic as well, has moon chakras, has sun chakras, and whenever people go through, whether it's a kundalini rise, an up jump, a recovery, a shadow work, then there are attempts to basically siphon from that energy. And that's done, unfortunately, sometimes by sexual boundary violation. This is a part of why people experience what people call spiritual rape. What I'm getting for the collective is the sealing of the root chakra. And what's happening when there are attempts to siphon that energy? Because you, the collective, are reconnecting with your root chakra in a way that has been so since at least 2019. Anything that has been trying to siphon is now having the doors gesloten. The door to the collective's root chakra is gesloten, is closed, closing. And what happens upon this process? Deep stress of all those that were counting on siphoning off of that energy. A fundamental, foundational, existential crisis for those that were reliant on harvesting other people's energy. That can be sex cults, personality cults, those that try to consolidate wealth, particularly it's underneath, okay? The area of the anus is connected to oil, gas, resources of underground, well water. Bunkers, 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 bunkers. Now, you hear about a person saying about a person, they're a bunker. Oh, she's a bunker. Oh, he's a bunker. That's your root chakra sealed to gaslighting, infiltration, sexual energy siphoning, spiritual rape. And here's the thing, the aura, the energy is sealing because you're doing the shadow work that seals it. Whether it's standing to, I'm getting political assassination prevention. Pluto is also politics. Tending to the taboo topics, extortion cults, and real estate and oil, money laundering, okay? Those anal stuff. For example, drug trafficking is done by using the anus of children. They hide it in the anus of children. And then they traffic these children, which is both rape and trafficking. Sex trafficking and drug trafficking. So those that try to siphon from people's root energy are setting themselves up to be exposed. What do we do with Pluto? Authentically put things in the light. The attempts to try to exhaust the spirit of the person are exposing those things that were done, trying to siphon from one's root energy. Masses upon masses upon masses of people that didn't even think they could buy a house begin to uncover the fact that they were energetically siphoned. Every energy, every person, every being comes to this world with its life energy to sustain itself. Each and every energy, each and every being has in its own energy what it needs. It has a locational, a real estate, almost like a soul dividend. the sovereign that cannot be NDA, that cannot be sold. And people in mass are beginning to reconnect with that. And that's a real authentic spirituality. It's not a prescriptive spirituality. It's not an energy siphoning, rapey spirituality. And people attempt to harm the foundation. Now here's what it is. When a soul addresses chakra by chakra, everything that's blocking its natural flow, thriving, joy, well-being, success, love, everything unfolds. It's a 9/11 on everything that tried to siphon the energy. And I particularly see it with Jupiter hour. Everybody that was involved in all kind of trafficking scams, filming people against their wish, trying to hack into their nervous system, identity theft, fraud, preventing people access to resources, to housing, to banking, to their own body and sexual sovereignty, to the ability to say no in spirit and in matter. They're going 9/11 after 9/11 after 9/11 after 9/11. They're falling apart in spirit and in matter. And they had better gone short on trying to siphon that energy. It's a fundamental existential crisis. Because if they were used to harvest on a certain energy by raping, infiltrating, stealing, and siphoning, the door to that type of siphoning is gesloten, closed. Those that come to siphon, to rape, to harm, to traffic, run into a closed door after closed door after closed door after closed door. The very doors they try to close on the ability of people to have housing, to have resources, to have an embodied safety, free of rape, free of ritual abuse. And now closing on them when they try to siphon that energy. And the people that have been dealing with spiritual warfare are now seeing the reasoning behind it, the mechanism behind it, the oil, the gas, the laundering, and they become aware that it's their own life energy. All the wealth in the world, not on the account of others. Each and every person is born with their own wealth energy, that nobody can decide for them that they have this much or that much. What people can do is to honor their own I am, their own sexual sovereignty. and express themselves as their own authentic self. This exposes any type of programming. What's behind this programming? This seals the door to that type of energy siphoning. Pluto is psychology, occult, oil, taboo, the anus, trafficking, sex. All of these things are authentically addressed. In the degree 2, it is about relations, values, connection, union. Anybody that tried to create a fake sense of union to siphon the energy from the anus, in particular, or any type of energy or root chakra, is having a door gesloten. None of their whispers, none of their mantras, none of their actions yield. The door is closed to that type of energy siphoning. And the more they try, the more they expose and undermine themselves for even trying. All of the scams exposed is forcing the collective to take action. The collective is being prepared to take action to stand the test of time. Now with Mars in Saturn sign, soon Saturn, February 14, goes into Mars sign. The attempts to siphon energy from the collective are met with, and basically the collective is being forced to take action, forced to expose, forced to assert that I am on a deep underground, from the underground resources, their own energy, all the way up to the crown. If they wouldn't try to rape and siphon, the collective might have stayed idle. Not knowing that it's not coming from the government, it's not coming from an external source. Their survival needs are met by their own life energy. And it's only by ritual abuse on a collective level that was dissociated, that route was not accessible. That the wealth that was hoarded on the account of each and every individual was by ritual abuse, rape, and energy harvesting. Pluto goes into the essence of the value, the occult of the value. And here's the thing. It forces the collective to do what needs to be done, to say what needs to be said, to seal that door, to seal that root chakra, to siphoning. Which means that the collective is beginning to learn the last things it needs to know to take action. Aldebaran mid-heaven means somebody tries to win over land by raping the collective, particularly annually. When did I deal with that? When did it go to Spirit of Matter? Spirit of Matter on YouTube. You hear that voice in the background? It's an execretion of gas. This is also why they try to rape people anally, to execrete gas, to drill gas from the real estate that the collective is sitting on. And whether I'm talking to tenants, homeowners, homeless people that just sleep in a place and they don't know there is gas that they try to drill. That is why they try the collective to rape the collective spiritually. To try to siphon their life energy to drill gas. And they try to summon demons. I don't know, demons or not. I come from academia, so I'm not a demonologist or something like that. And use occult to basically shake the foundations of the people, the collective, but the door is closing on them. No more energy siphoning. Their plans are exposed around the real estate. They try to intervene in the Kundalini rise of the collective. The more they try to silence the collective, the more their plans are being exposed and undermined. All they have to offer is timelines and tactics of trauma, gaslighting, fear, confusion. None of that is true. None of that is honoring. None of that is loving, is sexually sovereign. A free man is not oppressed another. They want to have dividend in gas drilling and also to gas the people. Gaslight to gas the people. People are trying to siphon energy from the collective to invest in gas by trying to traffic the collective, whether it's by pictures. And these investments fall flat. Because they inflated the bubble that's about to pop. It has to do with gas investments. Gas investments underground. Negev area. Dead Sea area. Any area where and other areas where the collective may be experiencing that is area where they try to drill gas and traffic people and try to film people to traffic that to money launder and to have equity in gas stocks. It's basically an identity theft, crime against humanity, human trafficking, filming people without their consent, attacking tenants, rape, spiritual rape is rape. Torture tactics and using dark occult to try to lower the frequency of the collective so that they are extortable or liable to energy siphoning or intervention in their own neural activity. Ascendant Ketu, we are purging that type of intervention. Mercury Mula Nakshatra. Mercury square Saturn. Okay? There's a threshold. The door, Mercury, to that type of energy siphoning is closing Saturn boundaries to close a chapter. Ketu to purge the energy siphoning. Nobody gets to deprive people of land, resources, housing, nourishment that's in their own energy, their own life energy. People want to drill oil, drill oil. People want to drill gas, but they can't do it with dark occult and energy siphoning. Which means it cannot be also not ecosystemic. All of their scams are exposed one by one. Mercury's details, the details of their belief systems about relations in merging Venus, trade companies, Saturn, global trade companies. I think it's the reassembly of Standard Oil. People are not, the collective is not allowing anymore because it's not about that the collective allowed to be siphoned. It's the collective was not aware of those things. And now the fact that they try to exploit power, basically power abuse dissolves. So they abuse power, this energy siphon, of course, spiritual rape, trying to siphon energy from the anus of people. Okay, that's power abuse, and it dissolves. What it means that those that try to abuse the power dissolves. The anus is also our collective unconscious or subconscious, something that we weren't making a connection, we weren't tapping into that. Now the collective is authentically tapping into that. Why? Because they want to get that air bubbles out of the, anus. They want to get the rapey energy out of the anus. Everything is secondary to abolishing ritual abuse. Anything is secondary to abolishing spiritual rape or spiritual warfare. Whether it's the mess in the room, the mess in the bank, the mess in the real estate, the mess in the work sector. All is secondary. Because nothing would yield. There's no point to having a where are we going with the relationship when this thing's happening. Because it's going nowhere. No point to having a conversation of job opportunities with this thing happening. Because it's going nowhere. No point to have a conversation with investments or accountants. When this thing's happening, it's going nowhere. No point to look for an apartment, to buy, to rent, to whatnot. When this thing's happening, it's going nowhere. So what is there left to tend to? Keep calm and abolish extortion cults. Every single detail that was done to siphon energy, to try to deprive people of their own born, whether they were cloned or they were in natural birth, whether it was cesarean or not cesarean, their own life energy. That each and every person has includes the survival needs, the land, the location, if they need to travel to another land, the means of transportation, everything. There isn't some bad karma that deprives them of nothing. That was invented by people that raped children and tried to cover this up by saying that these children did something bad to have this happen to them. A lot of the collective is beginning to understand that the people they thought that did something, it was either not them, or it was a third party torturing them, torturing two people, and then using their energies to attack, as mask when they attack each other. All the unconscious beliefs, traumas of the collective are being addressed. If somebody was looking for, I don't know, a simple woman, and he was more susceptible to tradwife trends, now they're seeing how that intervened in their relations. What does that sit on or whatnot? And you see how that made them susceptible to mind control. Somebody may have had experience being targeted for any type of ritual abuse, by proxy or not, in infanthood. Now they see it was the pre-verbal stage. And how that may have affected them to being susceptible to foundational energy siphoning. And that door is being closed to the energy siphoners, which forces those that stand in front of more and more closed doors to siphon energy. It forces them into an existential crisis to begin to regain their own life energy. They are terrified and they try to cast fears. When I attended to political assassination prevention in 2023, one of the first things I remember was The energy of the person I attended to their assassination was laughing at the fears, laughing at all the fears. And in that, they were raising the frequency. Of course, there were other things they were involved with. They have to tend to that. I'm talking about that good thing. Okay, they can't do dark rituals if they did it, okay, on people. And so the attempts to cast these weird energies on people. See, when people are aware what is gaslighting, they don't get into this weirdness. They stay grounded. When I was in Netherlands and I was doing a channeling experiment, I was in a shelter and there was this guy switching suitcases every day with a KLM tagging. Suitcase one looked like I don't know, polka dots, one pink, one this, and I channel and said, this face with this suitcase doesn't go together. Then they asked me if I work, if I seek a job. Say nothing. There was another double agent there that was exposing them, saying, you are a rat. Yeah, there was nurses in COVID don't have shifts. Global pandemic, huh? There's a thing about this energy siphoning thing. And the thing goes like this. The more that they try, the more people are forced to deal with that. They're forced to tend to that. Right? People can't live with spiritual rape. Nobody can live with rape. People will bomb the entire world to end rape. So that there will no be rape, no rape anymore. That means that Googleplex people that deal with spiritual warfare begin to tend to what is this thing? How do you stop this thing? And then they begin to become aware. What do they try to siphon them on? Why do they try to take the ability to inhale deeply and exhale deeply? Why are there gases in the air? People are trying to basically siphon the life energy of people that also contains clear air. I don't know what these people that are doing energy siphoning are doing, but you know they gotta watch out because they're closing the door on the energy siphoning, and they really watch out what they planned. I really hope they weren't planning any gas chambers. What I'm saying. Now is the time to go short on that type of plan. Definitely somebody wanted land. On the account of the life energy of people, the traffic people, the energy siphoned by spiritually raping people. Now the collective is doing the shadow work. Because as the collective is standing to that, it's doing a Pluto work. And it's becoming aware what is blocking the energy, and then to begin to dissolve these blocks. No more energy siphoning. Even people that used to tell lies are forced to tell the truth, not by torture. Because they're gaslighting their lies, they don't assemble. Those that went by ways. You know, I have a colleague in astrology, sometimes we have telepathy. And one of my colleagues says, Chili, if you don't like the way of a man, you don't like the man. How many of us have been surrounded with people that we don't really like their ways? Maybe we give them a chance to improve upon their ways. I'm not talking about the romantic sense. But if they, in their ways, try to undermine the collective, then the collective is doing the shadow work where, hey, they're not they're not giving the power away, or they're tapping into the power. They're beginning to address the issues, okay? If every workplace, for every training, one has to rape children in front of cameras to get a certification, and or to be able to actually work in a certain field in a way that they can buy a house and buy land, then people begin to ask questions. Say, hey, this place, let's say, offers work in return for housing. Fantastic. Hey, Falcon, did you need to rape children and bury them alive and dead in your own backyard to have this estate? Because if not, prove us. Prove us that you're not part of the people that do that type of ritual abuse. Can we stop believing in that? Now, some of the collective may have played small to evade certain confrontations. Standard Oil is a very big company. It seems like impossible to tackle. Then what happened? We tried to play small. People saw what we have in our life energy. And they tried to siphon it for them. It forces the collective to be who we are, what we meant to be. Which means that it forces out what tries to siphon. When I was doing my second course of aromatherapy, we learned about turmeric essential oil. Very particular sesquiterpene with 4 molecules. Biggest molecule. I don't remember how it goes in the chemistry. Okay, it's the biggest molecule comprising of 4 out of 4 connections. It's a very big, the biggest molecule of essential oils. Just for the teaching, we don't do it when we consume it. We took 1 drop underneath the tongue. Immediately I channel. I tell my teacher, this thing is grounding, so we are present in the body, and anything, any disease that was caused by us not being in our body has to go. Chavech. Lo and behold, that teacher would be very likely tortured, forced to work against me. She wanted me to be her TA. She encouraged me to think about buying a house. And we were both tending to fertility. I don't know about her lineage, I don't know where it's coming from, but then she teaches another oil, Rosalina. And then she talks about that tree is a small tree, it knows its place. It's not a language of holistic health practitioner. And she was aware of that. Perhaps not at the moment, but she was teaching that oil. Because there was attempt to make people not embody the entirety of who they are. When we don't embody the entirety of who we are, we're not grounded, there are other people who try to siphon the energy. And that in return forces us to embody who we are. Particularly when it comes to the foundations, to the root, to the survival needs. Housing. And by the way, she was struggling herself. She was telling me she was wearing all red. She wore all red because it's root chakra. And she was telling me, you have to think not what you feel like, what you need. What do I need? How do I get what I need? Survival. But that would mean that I would see Standard Oil reassembling. And what was I meant to do? Curate the foundations. Particularly of world enterprise to do with war zones around gas and oil, and the human trafficking and money laundering and extortion cults. I was meant to curate that. I was meant to abolish this type of practices from the world. I did not know that. Many people did. And those people are really, really trying to keep me in a situation where it won't heal so that they could siphon energy. That goes all the way to my lineage. And global bloodline lineages that are affected. For the collective, very likely something of that sort. Mercury in Mula Nakshatra. Moon, 2-degree Aquarius. Saturn at the end of Pisces. We're before the Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the world degree. And all of the things that they try to do all the time, many people that were involved with that had to in themselves undo the harm that they did. Those that understood that and went short on trying to be participators in creating that lower frequencies, look at the attempts at Jupiter hour. Many of the collective may have tried, may have deepened their ability to meditate, to breathe deeply, to have embodied sense of their own erotic and non-erotic sense of self. And that was another door closing on the energy siphoning. And when these doors are closing, they are closing. So the collective is basically shifting the timeline by shifting their own timelines, by attending to those things, by asserting themselves, by learning about what happened to them, whether it's ritual abuse, what prevented them to grow in their career, or life, or families, all of the above. The attempt to insist only clarifies how prevalent, how profound was the exploitation that was set on the collective. It's a process of eradicating this type of dark occultism, of creating trauma and siphoning energy. And it's forcing the world to adjust. When people understood gaslighting, they understood it in their partnerships, in their workplace, in the nation, in business, everywhere. And it said, no, gray rock. Gen Z going gray rock on the government. And the lobbyists and oil companies that are behind, and extortion calls that are behind the governments. All that they have to do is fear tactics, fear tactics. Fear does not create sovereignty. A free person is not oppressed another. If you date a woman or a man and they say, if you won't go with me, you will have nothing, you will have this. But he said this person got nothing to offer. If you won't buy from Standard Oil, if you don't do. Nikola Tesla created free energy. Now, when the collective world still believed in slavery, in raping children, in rape and so on, and saw rape as liberation, trafficking as liberation, then they didn't tap into the ability to produce free energy. And then they went with Standard Oil. If the common denominator is people that rape children, then they will not have sovereignty. But the collective is actually doing the shadow work. The collective I'm speaking with, that dealt with those things, that deal with those things, they're not sitting idle. And they're not doing what other people expect them to do. It's not about fixing your room. Abolish rape. Trying to activate and manage people by raping them? What kind of governance is that? What kind of leadership is that? That's incompetence at honoring sovereignty, at love that is actually loving. Now, that forces people in existential crisis, and the information is arising. I addressed, watch my Sadasati video.